Robert Plank Show, episode 100. Crack the free traffic code with Lance Tamashiro. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Robert Plank Show. This is the big one. This is episode number 100, and we have Lance Tamashiro here. We're going to talk about traffic. Now, Lance Tamashiro has been my business partner, I think about 7.5 years. And the reason why he became my business partner is because some of the things that he was doing, both back then and now, pretty much blew me away. Like when I first came across this guy, Lance Tamashiro, he was doing this thing called JV giveaways, where you have a product to sell. You go and you sign up for this thing, and you get all these leads of these new subscribers and buyers coming in. Then I saw him doing this thing where he would pay people $1 per new subscriber that they sent to his list. Then I saw him doing something else even crazier, where he would go out and contact other internet marketers, other people in the same niche as us, and go and say, hey, I see that you have a list. I see that you mail to it pretty frequently. How about I give you $300, and then you just copy and paste this message that I give you. So nothing on the internet ever happens without traffic, and it's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if you just make a really good software, product, app, membership site, whatever, it's really easy to think, well, I'm just going to build it and then they will come, and all these people are going to flood in and come and buy from me and see what I have and love what I put out. But unless you're actually actively focusing on multiple methods of traffic, free methods, paid methods, all these different things, then you're going to have a real struggle with your internet marketing process, whatever niche you're in. So the good news is we have Lance Tamashiro to talk about all kinds of things traffic-wise, what's working right now, the strategy of like what's always worked. So how are things today traffic-wise, Mr. Lance Tamashiro?
Man, things are awesome. And the one thing about traffic that I think is so important that everybody understands right off the bat is that there is no silver bullet. And the great thing about, it's not like we're doing business on the internet. So it's not like it is, if you have a storefront in a mall where, there's just people walking by and you're trying to figure out how to get them into your store. You're competing, with the internet. And the one thing that I see so many people doing wrong with traffic, first of all, is they find, and we've fallen into this trap in our business, is we find something that works and then we just put all the eggs into that basket. And that's all we focus on. And then a year later, we're like, whoa, the traffic's not the same. And so I think that understanding that there are so many forms of traffic on the internet that you have to get one set up, get it working, and then move to the next. And then the balancing act is sort of maintaining multiple sources of traffic at once. And I think that, my big message is don't put all your eggs in one basket with traffic. I mean, we've seen multiple businesses go down because of that.
And I mean, for me, there's like a balancing act, like four different ways, right? Because it's like, on one hand, I'm tempted to like try 20 things at once, right? Like, let me
Yeah.
try retargeting, Facebook, AdWords, Bing, all these different things, and then it's like my focus is split all these different ways. And then on the other hand, we can say, all right, well, let's put all of our efforts for the next couple of weeks into Facebook ads. But then a lot of people that we see, they go too slow, right? They kind of just dabble with Facebook ads a little bit, and by the time they actually have a handle on it, then
It's changed.
it's changed. Either some rule has come down, some slap has come down, all the other evil marketers have gone and ruined it. And so, yeah, it's kind of like this thing that's always changing. But if you can figure it out, even for just a few months, then it seems like you're well on your way. So, as we're getting started here, can you tell us what is your favorite traffic method at the moment?
I mean, I would say, well, yes, yes, and then I want to say something else to qualify it. First of
Perfect.
all, I would say today, as of right now, my very favorite traffic method is Twitter. And I know that's crazy because we've been playing with Twitter for years. We've had dead accounts for years. We've come up with a way where you don't need to have any followers. You can still make it work. The key is to think about it a little bit. And here's what I want to say, and then we can talk about Twitter or whatever else you want. But with any form of traffic, the very first thing and the focus has to be is why are you getting that kind of traffic? Or why are you focusing on that? Or what is that traffic for? It's the why. Because I mean, you talked about Facebook. I mean, there's a million reasons to get traffic on Facebook. You can build a page, you can build a group, you can send clicks to your website. You can send them to an opt-in page. You can send them to a sales page. You can send them to a podcast, to a webinar replay, to a webinar sign up. I mean, there's a million things. And I think that what everybody misses, whether you're talking about Facebook traffic, solo ads, Google AdWords, Twitter, is they get too caught up in the method of traffic, meaning the platform the traffic is coming from, and they forget why they are getting that traffic. And I think that before you do anything on whatever platform it is, be very clear. Am I doing this for brand awareness? Am I doing this for sales? Am I doing this for opt ins? Am I doing this for followers? Because if you don't do that and stay very clear on why you are getting that kind of traffic, the first thing is you have no way to measure your result. You're always going to think it's failed. And I know, Robert, that's been the trap that we have always fallen into with any type of new traffic sources. We just go, oh, it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is we didn't know what we were judging whether it worked or not on. So you have to be very clear on why you're doing the traffic so that you can judge whether it was successful or not. And that's going to change depending on why you're getting it. And the second thing is, if you don't know why you're doing it, you will fall into the trap of going down the rabbit hole. So you will start by setting up Facebook ads, and pretty soon you're learning about Google Analytics, and you're learning about making a video, and you're learning about having a podcast, when all you started with was you wanted to make a Facebook ad, but then you heard this, and then you heard this, and you heard this. And while all of those things might be true, they might not be true for the reason that you are trying to get the traffic. And I think that no matter what your traffic source is, you have to understand that one thing or you will fail.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think that when I see you playing around with traffic, and when I play around with traffic, it almost seems like it's like you get a few things set up, and that's like half the battle right there, and then it seems like you get almost to like 80% to to the place you want to get, right? Where, like you said, whether that means you're breaking even on some ads, or you're taking a little bit of a loss to get some opt-ins. It's almost like you get, like, getting it set up as half of it, and then there's always like just a handful of almost like gotchas or rules kind of in place, where like as soon like first you have to get something set up, right? And then you kind of have to figure out just even like five or six rules in whatever traffic source you have, right? Whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, there's always like a couple of just like little tidbits that you wouldn't have figured out without any kind of trial and error, right?
Right.
And I mean, and I've seen that like over and over again. Like I remember back when you used to pay for solo ads or do like things like that. I would see that you said like one time you lost, like you paid all this money and you just barely lost money, but then you added in an extra little upsell, and then suddenly now you were profitable. Or you joined all these joint venture giveaway things, and it was losing money, but then there was like some kind of like paid boost type of deal to do,
Right.
and then you made money that way. Same thing with Twitter, like we're playing around lately. We play around with Twitter and did the game of following thousands of people, or posting once a day, and then you realize that, well, if we post every 10 minutes, suddenly the traffic picks up. So it seems like with all these different traffic sources, like all the loopholes and stuff come and go, but then there are like these like almost like unwritten rules with all these different places, and it seems like it changes based on the traffic source. And as soon as you first put up a couple of ads, even like in an incorrect way, and then you figure out some of these unwritten rules, then you can kind of make money for a little while with
And,
this traffic source.
and the way that I look at it is you got to get like, so there's the art and the science, and everybody will teach you the science, and the science is for Twitter, set up an account, make some tweets, find some hashtags and do it. Your job after all of the mechanics in any type of traffic is to figure out the art of it, which means like, what's the thing that, and I hate kind of, it's such an abstract thing to talk about, but it's like you learn, you get a feel, and you learn how your audience, and it's going to be different for every niche, responds to things that you're doing on those different platforms. And nobody can teach you that. I mean, I guess you could have a mentor that walked through it, but there's some things that you just learn through experience. And once you have that experience of getting things set up, of understanding the platform, of seeing how things are working, you start to go, Oh, like, and I can't explain it other than it just starts clicking for you where you go, maybe if I do this, let's see what happens. But you need to understand how to set up, your Twitter stuff, how it's all working, what you're doing, and then looking at your results. And then you just start going like, what if I do this? Does my traffic go up or go down? What if I do this? And that's really where you got to know the mechanics to get in the game. But once you're in the game, that's where you're just starting. Like that's where it gets fun and where you really got to start taking it to the next level, which is like adding in the Robert sauce, adding in the Lance sauce and seeing what happens. And I think that so many people, especially in the niche and the circles that we run in, it's like everybody wants one size fits all. I just want to set up a Google ad and make it work. Well, yes, setting up a Google ad involves certain things, but once you have that there, that's when the real game starts. And I think that that's what's missing in so many traffic things. And it's such a hard thing to teach without, one-on-one mentoring or somebody going through it with you. But that's the skill that you have to learn is how to go beyond Robert and Lance said, do step 1, 2, and 3, and I did it. And yes, that's going to get you some results. But the real magic happens when you take it to that next level that you can only get through having that experience of getting the initial setup going.
So what you're saying is that it's really important to basically like put those repetitions in so that you can kind of look at whatever campaign you have and course correct.
And you can't learn it before you do it. And I think we see so many people where they're like, I got to plan this out. I got to build the map. I got to do all of these things. And they spend a year or 6 months or however long planning out this perfect traffic strategy. And then they start implementing and then they get into it and find out, well, they just wasted time because they didn't know what they didn't know. And so you got to just dive in, get your feet wet, get it set up and going because you'll figure out the next step once you've got the step behind you in place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, as you were describing it, kind of what was going through my head, like visually, was I was just kind of thinking of, like, if you're driving down the highway or whatever, and there's someone in front of you who's driving super crazy or super weird, like you don't quite know what's off. But we've all been there where like there's just some crazy driver on the road and something's kind of off just because we've done X number of hours of driving a car and everything's kind of orderly. But then if there's one kind of just something that's not working, we can just somehow tell, right? And if it's your first day driving a car, you can't tell because everything's new to you. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like you have that
Yeah.
experience and then you're just like something. I look at this and either it's something's good, something's working smoothly, and something's not quite working smoothly. So I mean, since we're kind of talking about Twitter, could you give us maybe like I don't know, like three or four just like quick bullet points for someone who wanted to get some traffic with Twitter?
Yeah, I'm gonna say like first of all, and you know this. I mean, I had a dead Twitter account for years. Had a totally dead Twitter account. With my podcast, revived it, built it up. I think I'm at like 18,000 followers now, like something crazy. And all I do is just tweet over and over my podcast. Well, I never tracked any. I mean, and back to why am I doing the tweeting? Well, I don't know. Like I really didn't know, It was like, well, I guess I'll just do tweeting and my podcast seems to be ranking, but I never tracked, what that actually meant for ranking or for traffic or for anything. And so I was kind of just judging it by, well, I'm getting new followers, right? Like, so great. Well, that doesn't really do anything for my business. It makes me feel good. So I was tracking the wrong thing. So I took that whole idea and we've got this course where we teach, about how to build a business on Fiverr. It's called Profit Dashboard. And we were going through, we were talking to some of the students with that and they're saying like, well, how do I get more traffic with it? So what I started doing was going, well, I got all these Twitter followers. Let's see what happens if I send out my tweet to this group. And I started getting traffic. I was getting like, 200 visitors a day to my Fiverr gig from Twitter, which is pretty awesome, right? But then here's the problem. How can I can't teach that, right? I can't go to somebody and go, well, here's how you get traffic to your Fiverr gig or to your sales page or to whatever. Because what's the first objection they have? Well, the first objection they have is, of course you can do that. You've got 18,000 followers. And I'm like, dang it, they're right. step one, get 18,000 followers. Just do that. And then you can, send a bunch of traffic from Twitter. So what I did was I created in front of this group a brand new Twitter account. Like no follow. I mean, I actually set it up right in front of them, brand new from scratch. And within 24 hours, I was generating 700 to 800 visitors to traffic with no followers. And what I found out was Twitter has this thing called hashtags. And what's great about hashtags is if you use them correctly, you have an audience without having an audience, if that makes sense. So I can start with nobody following me on Twitter, and I can send a targeted tweet out to a hashtag. Let's just say hashtag explainer video, right? For people that make explainer videos. And I can send out a tweet that says from a brand new account that says, I can make you a great explainer video. Check it out here, right? And if I do hashtag explainer video, now anybody that is on Twitter searching for something, basically Twitter categorizes everything. So if somebody goes to hashtag explainer video, I now have an audience with all of those people that are searching for hashtag explainer video. So what I did was I researched my niche. I found where there's a lot of traffic, where there's a lot of people using these hashtags, and started tweeting to those hashtags. And just from doing that in whatever niche that you're in, you can generate a crap load of traffic fast with no followers. The key is, like you said, tweet a lot. We use automated tools to do that. Make it targeted and make sure you understand why you are tweeting. So, for example, you can't, like Big Brother, right? The TV show that I watch, Big Brother, they have a hashtag called BB18. If I tweeted, get your explainer video at hashtag BB18 with my link, nobody's going to give a crap, right? Like a bunch of people might see it, but it's not targeted for that group. So can you get a bunch of irrelevant traffic? Sure. But the key is, how do you get targeted traffic that's interested in what you are? That's the little bit of research. You got to find the hashtags where not necessarily your competitors are looking, but where your potential buyer is looking or your potential customer is looking. And if you do that, you'll be shocked. I mean, at how fast you can generate a huge amount of targeted traffic to whatever offer why that you have.
That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, to just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So when you keep using this term hashtag or tagging, and so this whole thing of a hashtag, that's like where you might have a tweet, and then like you said, you have like pound sign BB18. Like, I guess, what do you do? Like, hold down the shift key and then hit the number 3. There's like that,
Yeah, the
whatever
number
hash.
sign,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like the hash mark or whatever. So so it seems like on, so let me know if I'm correct here. It seems like on Twitter, like you can do a search across all of Twitter, right? So if someone
Right.
mentions the term, say like Big Brother, since that was our example, you can search the term Big Brother, but you don't know if they're talking about like the TV show or like Edward Snowden or the NSA, or like, you don't know the context, right? And it seems like by having this hash mark and then some kind of abbreviation that everyone kind of agrees on, that basically like categorizes it. So someone who is looking for all the discussions about Big Brother or wants to get alerts about anyone talking about Big Brother, they can just basically search for this pound sign, hash mark, whatever, and then some kind of like abbreviation that people are either using or looking for. Is that right?
Yeah, and the key is to figure out where your potential customer traffic that you're looking for, what they would be searching for or what they would be following.
Okay. I
And
mean, go ahead.
I can tell you how a couple of easy ways to do that. So the easiest way to do that is find somebody that is your target market. Okay, so let's just say voiceovers, right? And let's say you want to sell voiceovers to people that make whiteboard videos. So what I would do is I would go to the hashtag and go to the Twitter search and put in hashtag and just start typing in like whiteboard video, right? Because those are the people. But that's a good starting point, but that's not a good ending point, because most of the people using that in this example, if you go look at it, and probably, the first thing that comes to your head, uh, whatever your niche is, WordPress, whatever, is going to be people that are talking about it, marketing, not necessarily marketing about it. So my target is not necessarily, let's say for the example, it's not necessarily people that are interested in them or looking for them or trying to figure out how to make them. I want to target even more specifically people that already make them that might want a voiceover for it. So what I would do is go to the hashtags and start looking at, all the people that are tweeting on whatever came to my mind first. So whiteboard video. And then I'd start looking at them and clicking through to their profiles and going, oh, this guy actually makes whiteboard videos. Oh, this guy's looking to buy one. Well, that's interesting. That means, that the right people are here, but I'm looking for people that make them. So then I'd click through and find, 4 or 5 profiles of people that are actually making whiteboard videos. And then I would look at their profiles and see what they're tweeting about and what hashtags they're using to promote their services. Then what you do is you start making tweets that are targeted towards, and again, it's all targeted marketing. You can't just throw it out there and hope somebody finds it. So then I'd say, I'd figure out what hashtags they're using, and I'd say, are you a whiteboard video maker that's looking for a pro voiceover? Check me out here. Right. And so it's taking it to that next level and actually making a targeted message to a targeted group. And if you do that, that's how you'll generate a lot of great traffic.
So I mean, what it sounds like you're doing is you're basically like modeling what it seems is working, and even by doing that, like it seems like you can do better than everyone who's already marketing on Twitter. Because I mean, some people who are marketing on Twitter, some of them are using hashtags, some of them are tweeting the right things, but like you said, they don't really know what the goal is. They don't really know what it is that they're doing. So it seems like what you're telling people to do is go out and check out both like your competitors and your potential buyers, and check out a lot of their tweets and Twitter profiles, and specifically look for the hashtags that they're already using. That way you can basically ride that wave of traffic, right?
Yeah, because you want to know where they're looking, right? And where they're looking is where they're tweeting to. So you got to figure out who that target market is, be very clear, write messages that are very targeted for them, and put them in front of them.
Cool. That makes a lot of sense. And so I want to switch gears, like kind of a little bit, not the whole gear shift, but I mean, you mentioned a couple times that we have been using Twitter for to send traffic to the site called Fiverr. And I mean,
Right.
the thing about the we've been playing around the last couple of years with not just getting traffic to our own websites, but also using some of these other big marketplaces, right? Using iTunes, using Amazon, using Fiverr. And I think that the big reason for that is that these sites have all kinds of existing built-in traffic, right? You list something on Amazon, list a book or a product, you're going to get tons of eyeballs on that. But what's been really cool is that we've been kind of getting the best of both worlds, right? We've been listing our stuff on, say, for example, Fiverr, where you can provide services for whatever price you want, so that way you can get paid whatever amount per hour that you want. And Fiverr on its own sends a lot of traffic built in, but it's kind of fickle, right? Just like how Amazon's fickle, just like how Google and Facebook is fickle. They give you some traffic, but it's kind of hit or miss. So it seems like by combining a site that already brings you a lot of traffic with this Twitter stuff, you can kind of have more control over it. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think the whole thing, whether you're using Amazon or Fiverr or iTunes, is the benefit of it is you can get going right away because there is built-in traffic, but you don't want to rely on them because nobody knows how their ranking engines work, right? So if you're starting to get some traffic, it can be gone the next day. And so my thought is, whether it's iTunes, Amazon, Fiverr, whatever, I want to be sending as much traffic as I can. Free traffic is good for a couple of reasons. One, I'm not dependent on their ranking system, which I don't necessarily know how it works, and it could change tomorrow. And the second is they see that I'm sending traffic, right? Like, and again, why are you sending traffic? Well, if you're iTunes or Amazon or whatever, and there's two equal products in the same niche, and you're trying to decide which one to rank higher, I'm not saying that this is how it works, but I'm saying it makes sense if you look at it from their perspective. If they're the exact same, they have the same reviews, they look like the same products or competitor products, who do you rank higher? Do you rank higher the guy that is riding your coattails, just waiting for you to make them money? Or do you rank the guy higher that is putting some skin in the game and some extra effort and sending outside traffic, which they all track? I don't know this for a fact. I'm just saying if it was my site, I would be rewarding the guy that is helping me out. And so that's, a lot of what I'm doing is for that purpose. Yes, it's to get some new buyers, which does happen, but more importantly, it's because I want them to see that I'm putting effort into it.
So it's like getting that those extra clicks and buyers is kind of your secondary goal, but your primary
Right.
goal is to impress Fiverr, Amazon, iTunes, whoever.
Right. I want to, and remember, these are machine, search algorithms are machines. So what it means is they're looking at some set criteria for the most part, right? Like they're looking at uh, how many people look at you, how relevant you are, how many sales you make, what your conversion rate is. My thought process is with these other marketplaces is I bet you somewhere in their search algorithms there is a weighting for are they promoting and sending traffic. And so it triggers that and you move up in the rankings, and I have, on a couple of these sites I've moved up in the rankings as I've sent traffic. Now, is it coincidence? Maybe, maybe not, but my gut feeling is I move up in the rankings because I'm triggering something in their search algorithm.
So, I mean, let's talk about that because it seems like that seeing what you've done the last couple of years with whether it's, Amazon, Fiverr, or iTunes, it seems like even if you don't know their exact ranking factors and stuff, it seems like there's been like a handful of things that you've been maybe checking on a daily or on a weekly basis and a handful of actions that you've been repeating in order to get more eyeballs or in order to increase your rankings. So, I mean, could you talk about that, or maybe off the top of your head, could you list just like a couple of a couple of things that you're looking for, and a couple of things that you do to climb those rankings, whether it's Fiverr, Amazon, whatever.
Yeah, I would say the first thing is know where you're at, right? Like know where you're at before you start. So are you not in the rankings? Are you number 300? Are you number 10? Because that way you can see what happens. The other thing that I do with all these, so first of all, know where you're at. Second of all, log in at least once a day. So if it's iTunes, I mean, log into your iTunes account and look at your thing one day, one time a day. If it's on Amazon, log in and look at it. If it's on Fiverr, log in and look at it. Why? Because my thought is these marketplaces, they don't want to promote you and then have you disappear, right? That happens all the time on the internet. So my first thought is I'm triggering that they know that I'm at least checking, that I'm active, right? Which that's very easy for a machine to be able to tell. So I want them to know that I'm active. So log in at least once a day. The second thing is send external traffic. Um, Make sure that you're sending external traffic. And then the third thing is make sure that you're watching your numbers and improving whatever your listing is with small tweaks. So if it's on Amazon, make changes to your description that make it easier to understand. Add pictures, add videos, add things that make it easier for the customer to make a decision to buy from you. If it's on Fiverr, same thing. I mean, tweak the way that you word things. See how people react. Change your video, change your offers, change your pricing. If it's on iTunes, change that description at the top. Change the way that you do your show notes. Change things constantly for improvement purposes. And my reasoning for doing that, and I do that about once a week, so that I can just test it out. And my reasoning for that is the same thing: is that these sites want to know that you're improving their customer experience, right? Like even on Amazon, I'm sure you've gone to listings and you're like, I'm confused. I'm not really sure what I'm buying. It's not answering the questions that I have. This is laid out funny. Just make small incremental tweaks. And I like to do it once a week because I can look at it with fresh eyes. So I'll go back to my video on Fiverr and I'll go, oh man, this would be cool if I did this. Or I go look at my gig and go, man, it would make more sense if I change this based on the feedback that I'm getting. And these sites, remember, they're all about their customer, not about you as a seller. They're about the buyer. So if they see you making changes that are making it a better experience for the buyer, my thought is they reward you. And obviously, then you do the normal SEO stuff, right? Like make sure you're relevant, make sure that you use the right keywords, all of that stuff. But what I think is happening as a trend in general across marketplaces is the focus is not so much on the SEO part, while that is important. The focus is on the user experience. And the better user experience that you can show to the marketplace, the more that they will reward you. And the only way that you can do that is by being active, which they can measure, making changes to make it better, which they can measure, everything, and sending outside traffic, which they can measure. Everything else, everybody's doing the same thing. They can't programmatically measure those things, right? But those three things they can measure programmatically and say, Lance is doing these three things, Robert isn't. Let's increase his thing. Otherwise, it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a way to what they could look at programmatically that I could do that my competition isn't.
And the best thing so far about just like your mindset of all this is the like the side by side comparison, right? If there are two
Yes.
people and they're very very identical, like the Fiverr gig is almost identical, or the Amazon product listing is for just about the same product, has just about the same number of reviews, about the same amount of traffic, the same ranking. If they're almost identical, well then they're going to be ranked about the same. But if one person sends an extra 20 clicks a day, well then that's like 1% more, but all you
Who's
need
better?
is yeah, all you need is 1% more to be ranked higher than that other kind of person. And the other thing that sticks with me is that you and I have a saying that you have to separate the forest from the trees. And I think just like what's coming in my head as we're talking about this traffic stuff is that I think a lot of people get frustrated because they see a magic trick, right? They see someone say, check this out, I've got my Facebook fan page, and here it's at 0 followers. Then a day later, 100,000 followers, and then they buy a traffic course, but the course only shows how to get set up, right? Or check out my Amazon ranking, check out all my sales, but then the course only talks about how to get it set up. They don't talk about the course correction we've been kind of unpacking in this call. And then, so what that kind of makes me think back to is all these people, especially like copywriters, people making web pages, they say, well, if you're not making sales, what you should do is split test, right? And usually when someone says you should split test that, they just mean you should just go and get lost, right? They say you should split test it. They don't really know what advice to give you, right? And so, but I think that what you're basically doing on Amazon, on Fiverr especially, is like you said, you're looking at where you're already ranked, and you say, let me just tweak one little variable, right? Let me take out some of the text on my listing. Like you said, let me add a picture, let me add a video, and then let it sit for a week to do its thing. And then you can kind of just eyeball it later on and say, well, that one change I made, did that lead to like more sales or less sales? Did my ranking go up in the rankings or drop? And that's kind of like just like a pretty easy way of more or less split testing. Like all those people who don't know what advice to give you, they say split test it. That's basically what you're doing there, right? Is you're kind of making your best guess, taking a stab at it, change one thing, see what the results are.
And again, back to how we started, that one change, I know why I'm making it. So sometimes I'm making the change because I want to see if it increases conversion rate. Sometimes I make that one change because I want to see if it changes my placement in the search. Sometimes I change something because I want to see what the click through rate changes. So again, you can't just make a change and go, okay, you have to know why you are sending traffic, why you are making that change so that you can judge if it's successful or not. And if you aren't really clear on why you're making that change, then you're going to find yourself in trouble.
And what's really good about like the way that you've explained this is not only know, what you're changing and why you're changing it, but know like what metric you're trying to hit. So
Yes.
like, when we set up something on Amazon, we're not looking to make money from it for a while. Like we're looking to maybe get ranked, looking to get some reviews, and for a while we're fine taking that hit. On Fiverr, ranking is good and stuff like that. So maybe for 1 month, we're only focused on getting ranked. We don't care about too much about the traffic, the number of sales. But then once we get ranked, then we can shift our focus to making some sales, and maybe not even at that point making some money, but making enough sales where we can get those repeat buyers and then jack the price up. So I mean, it seems like there's a lot of like little bits of strategy there. But what I think is cool about the way that you've laid this out is that this can pretty much apply anywhere, right? If you're looking at Twitter, you figure out, like you said, first of all, what is my goal, and then I kind of get it set up, and then what am I, or like, why am I trying to improve this one little piece of my Twitter? Like, am I trying to get more followers, more clicks, better ranking, whatever? So then, if I know what I want and I know why I'm changing what I want, then I can change one thing and see if that gets me to where I want to go. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes it measurable. And I think that's the problem with everybody in traffic is they don't do things that are measurable. They just go, "Oh, I need traffic." Well, great. And they're counting the amount of traffic. They're not counting something that actually matters to their business.
I mean, and so if you do that, then now you're not being a mindless drone. You're not just following someone's instructions for the heck of it. You're actually being a real business owner. So it seems like there's a lot of cool things that you mentioned today, and the best part about our discussion today is I think there's basically five things that people need to keep in mind, right? Number one, whatever marketplace you're at, well, actually, even number zero almost, whatever marketplace you're at, you need to look at what people are already doing and model what it is they're doing. If it's Twitter, Amazon, Fiverr, even just a regular web page, you have to start somewhere, right? So it helps to look at what's already there and kind of reverse engineer and figure out, okay, well, this looks good enough. That's going to be my starting point. And then the five things you listed as far as just like what to do once a week to increase whatever it is you're trying to increase, right? Sales, clicks, ranking, whatever. Number one, know where you're at. Know where you are in the rankings, because if you don't look at, if you miss that very first step and you play around with sending clicks over to Fiverr or Amazon or your webpage or whatever, you don't know if those clicks actually helped you. So number one, know where you're at. Number two that you said was log in once a day. So it seems like all these different websites. It doesn't even matter if it's a search engine, if it's a marketplace, or anything like that. It seems like they all reward some amount of activity. They want to reward you for at least logging in and you seeing how well your own kind of stuff is doing. And so for example, on this site called Fiverr, log in on the web browser. They have a mobile app. Do whatever it takes just to show this website that you're taking it seriously enough to at least just check your own stuff once a day. Number three, send external traffic, because you don't know if you're going to get, Amazon slapped with some Kindle books or whatever it is. Send your own traffic. Number four is watch those numbers so that you know what it is that you're trying to improve. So that means, for a web page, track your clicks. For a site like Amazon, if you have Kindle books, see where you're ranking compared to everyone else. That way, you can make those small little tweaks. And then finally, number five, have relevant keywords, because all these sites, the way that they're all headed based on what you said, is that they all want a good user experience, so that if someone is searching for example, if they're searching for someone to provide them with a voiceover, right? If they're a person who provides explainer videos as a service, they want to hire someone else to dub in some audio. Well, then that whiteboard provider might search Twitter and for your hashtag, for hashtag voiceover, for whatever, and then if Twitter sees that someone searched that, clicked over to you and didn't come back, then they say, well, hey, this must have been a relevant search result. This person has a pretty good Twitter account. Same thing with Google, right? If someone searches Google for American male voiceover, they click over to your site, they don't come back, then Google says, well, hey, these are some relevant search results. And so, and I really like, and I mean, and then, in whatever marketplace you're in, then you can kind of do whatever is specific to that. So, for example, with, iTunes, put out some more stuff more frequently, get your episodes transcribed, whatever it is. But it just seems like instead of trying to find the trick, the loophole, whatever kind of bug that they haven't fixed just yet, it seems like instead of trying to fight this big giant website, help them out and make their website better, and it seems like they reward you for that.
And they reward you long term, which is most important.
So that way you don't have to keep starting from scratch every couple of months. Like, I mean, you kind of sort of have to do with, AdWords or Bing or a lot of paid traffic like that. But it seems like with this long-term strategy, once you have that momentum going, like you have a high ranking on Fiverr or Amazon or whatever, once you have that ranking, then you can you don't have to frantically scramble every single week, it see's.
Yep. Way easier life to live.
Cool. I mean, makes a lot of sense to me. So, could you tell everyone? What's your website? Where can people find out more about you?
I mean, I think the best place to would be go to LT for Lance Tamashiro, lt.show. Got a lot of more information for you. You can find out about our courses. You can find out about how to get in touch with me. But check out lt.show, and I look forward to hearing from you all.
Perfect.